What's up? This Prophet Marshall Occurrence. Yeah, so this video is going to be about the enemies, the Americans, the gang stalkers will try to find the strength that you have. Now I'm talking to God's spiritual warfare elite. They will try to find people in your family and people in your city that have your spiritual strength, hoping to find someone that fits your physical spiritual anatomy, more your spiritual anatomy. Physical too. They'll try to find people in your family that has your strength. They'll try to find people that's in your city that has your strength, thinking that because you was bred there, that they can find somebody in your city like you, or they can use your city to gang stalk you, and they're going to be successful because y'all come from the same place. They may think they're going to be successful, and really, no one can duplicate your spiritual anatomy. It's just what it is. Whether it's your family, whether it's your city, your country, the Americans, that they'll take it up to where they think the Americans can beat you. I'm speaking for the country I'm in. They'll think the Americans can beat you because y'all all from America. They'll think people in your family can beat you because y'all got the same DNA or build, ethnicities, all of that, what have you. They'll think people in your city is very similar to you and can beat you. And so this is what I personally been through. This is what I personally been through. Now, when it comes to people in your family, they may not necessarily be against you, but they're gonna try to pit your family against you anyway, through witchcraft, through psychological monitoring and games and things like that, and they're gonna try to pit your family against you, to use their strength against you or their likeness against you, hoping to find someone with your likeness to defeat you. And that's why they're gonna use them. See, like a corny person would think that because they see your strength, they think, well, let's go to the family. Let's see who we can manipulate there. Let's see who we can get on our side over there in this family. Let's see who we can get in the city, because they basically are the same kind of people. Let's see if we can get some of these people from Charlotte to beat this person. You see, and that's truly what it is. That's truly what it is, man. And I just kept picking up on that throughout the years, especially with Charlotte. For me, they try to use Charlotte people, but it didn't work because I broke out the build of a Charlotte build. I broke out the Charlotte build by going to California, going to the West Coast, going to New York City, going to Florida, living in Florida, having 2 apartments in Florida, living in New York City, having an apartment in New York City, living in California, and living in the West Coast. I broke out. So I'm not even the same Charlotte build anymore. And now they realize that. Okay, so, and it wasn't just like these places like California and New York. It was also Florida, so I still got some southern strength from some other places outside of Charlotte. Okay, but if you are being gang stalked and you're a high ranking target, they're going to try to use people in your family that have the same level of strength. They're going to try to find somebody in your family because they feel like that DNA and that energy is going to be something that can challenge your energy. It's a corny way of thinking, you know what I'm saying? At face value, anybody could easily think that. It's a simple way of thinking. It's easy to think that way. you know, it's not a sophisticated way of thinking. It really isn't. It's very simple. It's probably like one of the first thoughts that would come to some haters. Some people hating on you. They think they can find somebody in your family. They think they can find somebody that will come out of your family to beat you in the gang stalking format. They think they can find somebody in your city to beat you. Because think about it. If you let's just say for example, you from Chicago, right? And you being gang stalked, they gonna try to find people in Chicago that have that same strength, that come from them same streets, people that come from the same streets that you come from, and they think that's gonna beat you. That's gonna beat that kind of strength that you got that they can't beat. So they gonna try to go to the same city, in this example, Chicago, to try to find people from that city that have the same strength that was built in the same city. They trying to find somebody that's built in the same city you come from. That's what they trying to find. So I had to weather a lot of charlatans. I mean, I would say about 10 years I've had to weather this idea that these gang stalkers can use charlatans against me out here in the streets and all out here in the community. It's corny, you see what I mean? And they got the same level of mindset that I got. They got the same strength that I got, and it's foolishness. Particularly with my city, it's definitely foolishness. And they don't have the same strength that I have. And it's obvious, and it's apparent. And they're not gonna find somebody in my family like me, and they're not gonna find somebody. If you're high ranking, most likely, I'm gonna put it like it needs to be said. There's usually, in all actuality, there's usually only one kind of chosen one from your immediate family, your immediate circle. It's not probably like two or three or four. There's probably one. And if you're that one, it doesn't matter who they try to use around you. That's spiritual. It's not going to be the equivalent of you. It's not going to be the equivalent. And these gang stalkers will find out the hard way. Now, your family might have nothing to do with it, but the whole idea of these monitoring spirits, the whole idea of these witchcraft people and these people that's monitoring us on a grid, they map your house out as a grid. If you don't notice that, they follow you from room to room, wherever you sleep at, wherever you are, they follow you to your front yard, your backyard. We know all about that. I pay close attention. And they'll try to pit your family up against you. You know what I'm saying? And they may, like I said, they may have nothing to do with it. They may have nothing, absolutely nothing to do with it. And in some cases, they do. They're gang stalkers too. And in that case, the gang stalkers that's using your family will think they have the same strength as you, and they'll find out the hard way that they don't. So this is very important when it comes to your family, because I noticed one of my biggest videos that got the most like is talking about family. So family with these gang stalkers and your family being gang stalked. So I feel like the next level, how this video came about, was I thought about the next more sophisticated level is touching on the whole spectrum of the family and the gang stalkers. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot to talk about. It's a lot of issues in between. And so I'm going to start, as thoughts come to my mind about family and the gang stalkers, because I see that's a big void to fill with this whole situation with people, with information and students of information. It's this void to fill in you and others about, your family being involved in gang stalking, your family being gang stalked, things along those lines. You know, um, you know, like I said, your family may not be involved. Your family might not have nothing to do with it, and then they might have something to do with it. So you just gotta look for the signs. You gotta look for um, the telltale evidence to find out. But they gonna use people in your immediate circle if they can. That's best because they can hurt you a lot. They can hurt you way harder than just some random gang stalker. So the ideal situation is for gang stalkers to be able to find somebody that's in your family for more than one reason. Really to hurt you with the history that you have between you and your family, whether it's knowing your strengths, knowing your weaknesses, things like that. Them people know you to a certain degree. In the average situation, they know you because you've lived with them all your life. So they know what make you tick. They know your weaknesses and everything. And there's history that the gang stalkers can use against you through your family. You know, so you gotta take inventory, keep your eyes open, and realize that's what they're gonna do. If you're a high-ranking target in gang stalking, that's what I call it, a high-ranking target, because high-ranking targets are not the same as just the everyday targeted individual. Unfortunately, a high-ranking target, they bring out all the big guns of gang stalking. They bring out all the big guns, all the big guns. Meaning they're gonna use your whole neighborhood. If you're a high-ranking target, they're gonna use your whole neighborhood. They're gonna use the stores, your gas stations around you, the bodegas, the convenience stores, your phone place. They're gonna use department stores. That's if you're a high-ranking target. So I think it's better to just. I think that caliber of gang stalking has not really been fully addressed or differentiated from everyday targeted individuals. And I don't downgrade what they going through, and I don't have less compassion for what they go through, but I feel like I'm in my natural element to address what I'm going through. I feel like I'm in my natural element to address high ranking gang stalking because that's what I'm going through. And ultimately, if you fight back and you grow in spirituality, you're going to rise to being a high ranking target anyway. So this information is going to be profitable moving forward for everyday gang gang stalked individuals that's gang stalked. You're going to find this information profitable as time passes by. You know, like I would tell you, like I've said before, those who are spiritual have more insight when it comes to understanding these gang stalking people. Don't take for granted the information I tell you because see, I don't know if you follow my messages. If you do, I talk more than about gang stalking. I got all kind of intellectual property that has nothing to do with these people and nothing to do with any of that. And I'm credible as a prophet. Matter of fact, my main war is not with the gang stalkers. My main spiritual war is with the Americans. So I'm not that ain't even my highest caliber of attention, if that makes sense. My highest caliber of attention, what I pay attention to the most is going to be America, not the gang stalkers anymore. For me, they're not relevant as a gang stalking community. They're not relevant anymore, but I do feel compassion and empathy and apathy to be able to address those who are going through this. You know what I'm saying? To relate to those who are going through this and for them to relate to me. So this is why family is used. The element of family is used. It's more for they got a lot of information on you. They got a lot of information from your childhood to your teenage years to how you tick, how you think, what you like, what you don't like, what, even what kind of women you like, any all that stuff. Why not use that person if you can? Why not use those type of people if you can? So that explains why. And so when you understand, when you look at the betrayal or your family being used, you got to understand they've been manipulated. They've been manipulated to a certain degree, whether it's for money, goods, things like that, to gang stalk you. You know what I'm saying? And, us that's been gang stalked, we are pockets of resistance. We're pockets of strength and power that they want to get rid of. And I mean, the most ideal situation is to be able to find someone that has grown up with this person you want to get rid of, or you find a lot of people that know this person. And I mean, that's ideal. That's obviously ideal. It's obviously ideal. So that explains why. Instead of you wondering why, that's why. It's because they're ideal as far as intelligence, history, and understanding you. And they may have the same strengths that you have. But if you are truly high ranking, you probably are the only chosen one in your family. You know, and you don't have to sing about it. I mean, it's probably with your family, it's probably an understanding of that, even though it's not talked about. But they probably understand that you are the one that are is the chosen one, the standout chosen one. And with that being said, you're the only one that's built like you and your family. Many people that I'm talking to right now, you're the only one built like you built in your family. You think the way you move, the places you've been, the things you do, how you've been out here in this world and everything. Your family ain't done that. And so with the gang stalkers, they're not going to be able to find nobody in your family like you. And like I said, your family might be a part of it, your family might not be a part of it, but ultimately, through these monitoring spirits, this mind surveillance, and this stuff that's around our houses. Because if you don't know, gang stalking has come to the house. Black people, we say to the house, like as far as where we live. Gang stalking done came to the house, right? Gang stalking has come to the house, and how they do it is they use technology and spiritual technology to come into your quarters and go from room to room and try to separate the family, try to get the family to bump heads, try to play all kind of psychological games between you and your family where y'all see each other the wrong way, even sexually, try to make you see your family in a sexual way, little mind games to try to make you see your family in different sexual ways at different angles, like psychological karate, trying to throw a hit out there or attack out there out the blue with your family. They doing all of that while they're in the kitchens, the living rooms, wherever, the basements, the attics, wherever they at. When you interact with your family, these people that's watching you are going to try to get something to happen there to accuse you. You know what I'm saying? That's what they're going to try to do. Okay? Mind you, like I said, your family knows you best in many cases. In many cases. Your family knows you best. So, like I said, it's ideal for them to use your family. It's really ideal. So you got so understand the reasons. Let the reasons clock in. Let the reasons register in your mind why they choose to use family. But the main thing is this. The main thing is this. It's not gonna work. They ain't gonna find nobody in your city like you. For me, I went to New York City, and I used to jog every day in Central Park. A black woman there told me she ain't nobody here in New York like you. I've had more than one person tell me ain't nobody in New York like you. So I outranked New York, if that makes sense. Where somebody told me ain't nobody like you here. That's what type of person I am. So let alone Charlotte. Them find somebody in Charlotte. Good luck with that. They ain't gonna find nobody in Charlotte like me. They not. And but they desperately try to with many of you, and like I said, they're either trying to use your family or your city. They're trying to find a strength that is just as strong as yours. With how you think, your spirituality, your energy, your DNA, where they got somebody just like you. That's why siblings is very ideal, because your mom and your dad don't really have the same DNA, because you have the DNA of both, and your mom don't have the DNA of your dad, and your dad don't have the DNA of your mom. So your mom doesn't have the DNA of your dad, or your dad don't have the DNA of your mom. You have the DNA of both. So that's not a connect. A connect is your siblings that have the DNA, the same DNA, your mom and your dad, like you do, right? So in the case of family, you see where I'm going with this, right? In the case of family, where they're trying to find somebody just as strong as you, they're going to try to use your sisters and your brothers, most likely, because they got the same build as you. They got the same DNA that come from your mom and your dad. They the only ones that got the same literal DNA that you have. So when it comes to the family, let me help you understand this. The ideal is not your mom. The ideal is not your dad. The ideal is your brothers and sisters, because they built, as far as DNA and biologically speaking, they're built just like you, literally. So if with that being said, they're gonna think that this person is your nemesis, your natural nemesis. In the case of how they use them, and they have the same strengths that you have, but everybody know brothers and sisters are different. No one's the same. Your brother has strengths that you don't have, and you have strengths that your brother don't have, or vice versa. I mean, with sisters, same thing. You got sisters that have strengths that you don't have, and you have strengths that they don't have. So, I mean, anyone that understand the whole dynamic of sibling will understand that ain't even gonna work like that. But they're just hoping in a fluke kind of way, that maybe you're the loser in your family, and your siblings are stronger than you. So whatever we see with you, we can find more over there with the winners in your family. So you gotta look at it like that too. Maybe they can go get with the winners in your family besides your siblings, and maybe they can conjure up a defeat for you. Even in your city, they gonna try to make you look like you was a lame in your city. You ain't had no reputation. That's an attack too. That's an attack in itself, to try to make you look like you wasn't successful. Let's say outside of the street element, like you didn't really go to school, you didn't really do anything, you didn't really work in the city, you didn't really do anything and get your hands dirty, you didn't really make no real money in your own hometown. That's how people want to paint you, because how they say you won't grow up to your mom or your dad. You don't grow up to your hometown either. Now I want you to ponder that. How they say you'll never grow up to your hometown. I mean your mom and your dad. You don't grow up to your hometown either. how they say that your mom and your dad, you will never grow up to them. You're always gonna be a baby to them. And with your hometown, you're always gonna be a baby to some people in your hometown. You're always gonna be a peewee, a small fry, based on them remembering who you was when you was a kid. That's the main thing that they gonna think about. Cause once we get older, we start becoming more reclusive with our loved one, our special, significant one, where we ain't in the streets after our 20s. You know what I'm saying? After our 20s, we start, you know, being with significant significant romantic partners. And you start getting out the street probably in your late 20s. You know, for me, that's about it for me. I started getting out the streets probably, well, a little earlier for me, but definitely for sure. In my late 20s, I started getting out the streets. I wasn't in the streets no more. You know, because I'm busy. I'm busy living with my woman. So, you know, so then people see less of you. That's my point. People see less of you. And all they really got to go off of is when you was a kid. They know that through and through. But as you get older, you know, and you out the streets, you know, they don't really know you. They see you coming from point A to point B, but you just running errands, getting food, getting wine, you know, ordering food, ordering pizza. That's all you're doing. You ain't really interacting with nobody no more. Most grown men kind of stop the interaction with the overall community. Like when we in school, when you're in school, you got that overall community connection. A lot of people know you. A lot of people know what you're doing presently and how you built presently and how you think presently and et cetera, et cetera. But once you get older, you get out them streets, they don't really know you. Your hometown don't really know you. So what they gonna go off of is your past, when you was a kid. And so in the case with me, Charlotte could only go off of my past because I left home when I was 20 years old and went to Los Angeles. I went to Los Angeles when I was 20. You know, and so they didn't, you know, they didn't really have no young man history either because I left and went to LA, you know, when I was 20 years old. So so they gonna go by the things they know, the past. They gonna try to dig up and stuff from the past and all of that. They gonna see me like that. They ain't gonna see me like from the strengths that I got from being on the West Coast and being in Seattle, in Florida, Tampa. I was living in Tampa, Florida, and New York City. You know, they ain't gonna know anything about that. In fact, if they against you, they ain't gonna want to acknowledge that your strengths, your new growth, your new sophistication. And sometimes in your family, that's how it is. They don't want to acknowledge your strengths. You done been all over the city. You done been all over the world. They don't want to acknowledge that. They want to put you back in that box when you was a little young dude, didn't know nothing about the world, didn't know how to think properly, and didn't know how to do anything. Or if you was a woman, you didn't know how to really do anything. They want to hold you right there where you ain't really know what to do with your life. You ain't know how to do nothing. You ain't know how to navigate in the world or think properly even. You know, grew up, you know how to do things, and sometimes people don't want to acknowledge that growth, you know. But ultimately, as a man or a woman, you make people acknowledge your growth. You force it to happen. You know, you stand up and you continue to be the person that you are today. You know, regardless if people acknowledge it, they want, you know, maybe they might be saying little stuff from the past or insinuating stuff from the past or how they thought you was from the past, but you gotta make people acknowledge your growth constantly until they get used to it. And that might be people that ain't even gang stalking you, man. It's just human nature, you know. People just gotta get used to the new you. They gotta get new to your growth as a person. just as a person. But that don't mean you come and just, like, for example, for me, I done been all over the world, over the country. That don't mean you come and throw your weight around because you the only one that left town and went different places. You don't want to be that kind of person. I mean, because then it's like, it's hard, it's indigestible. You don't want to be around somebody just constantly throws their weight around because they've been in LA, they've been in New York, they've been in Florida. You don't want to be that type of person. So if you're smart, like I am, I choose not to be that type of person that is throwing my weight around. I've been all these places, you know what I'm saying, and trying to appear tougher or smarter or any of that. You just duck that. You sidestep that. Even if people are trying to challenge you and your family, you sidestep. Because that'll happen. When people see your growth in your family or in your city, they're going to try to challenge you. And you got to sidestep it. Because if you don't, you're going to, as far as playing chess and being professional, people going to say that's the worst move. That's the most expected and worst move you can make once you got growth. Now you defecating on your family. You defecating on your city. That's why I tried to hold back as much as I could from being that type of person or being perceived as that type of person. But Charlotte forced my hand for me to use my strength, for you to see how strong I am, for me to show you what Charlotte is not. They forced my hand in my case. And sometimes they may do that to you. You might have spiritual growth, you might have spiritual strength, and your city is just tripping. Because they want that fame. See, in my case, they wanted that fame. They wanted to be acknowledged like me. Charlotte, North Carolina, is one of them cities that is very unsung. It has potential, but it never fulfills its potential. It never has over the years. It's one of them type of cities. And you can show me the football team, the basketball team, they still ain't fulfill no potential. And how a city is only as big as its resources. Besides the hoopla, besides the street elements, the sports, the music. You can show me all the music, you can show me all the sports, you can show me all the street stuff. Your city, this is coming from somebody who's traveled all over the place. The first thing that's gonna get respect is the resources in your city. Ain't nobody going straight to the streets. Ain't nobody going straight to a concert. Ain't nobody going straight to a NFL game or a basketball, NBA game. The first thing people gonna touch down in your city and do is try to connect to resources. So imagine me esteeming Charlotte as whatever they want to be esteemed as, but as soon as I touch down and look for resources, they're not in place. I'm already disappointed. You know what I'm saying? I'm already looking at you as a low caliber community when you don't really have a lot of resources that other cities have. Like, I've lived in New York, so I've seen all type of resources where I wouldn't even be in this situation if I was in New York City. Like right now, I'm living with family. I just turned down an apartment. I could have had an apartment. I had an apartment for 3 years, but I came down to Charlotte to try to be with this woman, and we tried to be married and be together, and it just fell all apart. It was really nothing. And that's the only reason I'm really in my situation. But my family wanted me to come back to Charlotte. They felt like New York was just crazy and dangerous, and it is. It's just ratchet, more than anything. But I held my head, you know what I'm saying? I just left New York City this year, you know what I'm saying? So I'm basically fresh from New York, less than a whole year from coming from New York. But so I still got that vibration, that vibe of, how to move from coming from New York, coming from Brooklyn. You know what I'm saying? But, Charlotte just don't have no resources. New York City does. New York I will have a place to stay. So for me, as a grown man that's 45 years old, I look at a city as powerful and salute worthy and a great city as a grown man. This is me as a grown man now. As how much resources it has. If there's resources, okay, it's a good city. You know what I'm saying? But if it ain't no resources and everything, I don't even know what we talking about as grown men and women. You see what I'm talking about? I mean, whether it's sports, I mean, what's sports for me? I'm not an athlete. You know, music, I mean, okay, I'm not presently in the studio. You know, street stuff, I'm a soldier. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not a gangster or a thug. I'm a soldier. So you see what I mean? I don't even care about those things. But what we all care about is resources, money, opportunities. How quick can I get you off the streets? And when I get you off the streets, what can I give you? What can I hand you? So me being from Charlotte, it's always been one of those unsung cities because they don't have resources. You know, so they're ever trying to find a way to kind of be acknowledged as New York or LA. It's one of those cities, and that's why you have people selling their soul, joining secret societies, joining the Freemasons, joining all these groups because in Charlotte because they want to get ahead. They want to be they want to be in the big leagues. They want to be among the big dogs and all of that. And they're almost it is perceived that they're almost there because they have a football team, a basketball team, and all of that. You know, so that'll make you think you're almost there. You're on the map. You know, but that's where it gets tricky because really that's not the truth. How you know you're there is when you have resources. That's when you're there. You know, and so with that being said, though, when Charlotte, North Carolina, the hood, the community, now going to the community level, they tried. I'm just showing you in my situation. You can apply it to your situation to what degree that you can apply it to. When I came here on ground level, they heard about my fame. They heard that I defeated the Americans. They heard that the Americans fear me and I'm defeating them and all of that. And they heard I was from Charlotte. So they also, your city also, outside the gang stalkers, your city will make the mistake of thinking they can challenge you and play with you and they think they got the same strength that you got. But if they did, they would have done the same things I've done. That's my thing. As a big dog, my thing is, you know, you can't beat me in one setting. You can't beat me in one setting. You got to go, for the big dogs, you got to go do everything I've done. That's the only way you can beat me. You can't beat me by beating me up, punching me in my face, punching me in my back, stomach, and beating up my kidneys. You can't beat me up like that and win. You know, and you can't shoot me and win. You can't kill me and win like that. That's when you know you're an immortal. You're an immortal informally when you can't be beaten by death or fights, fist fights. That's when you become an immortal. You can use that for yourself. You become an immortal when I can't just beat you up and win. I can't just stab you and win. I can't just shoot you and win. Because you got all these numbers. You got all this stuff. You got all this reputation. Besides a fist fight or me, you know, nobody ain't gonna think that you beat what consists of who I am. What people talking about, it wasn't beaten. Makes sense? So the numbers wasn't beaten. What I've done and what make people talk about me, that wasn't defeated by what you did in your own life. You know, you got to go do something in your life to make them stop talking about me. You got to go do something in your life to make them say, wow, well, he just as good as this dude over here who was going all around the country and all. Somebody in Charlotte got to do that. And see, that's how the big dogs do it. So you can use it from me, man. I ain't get that from nobody. You know, to be an immortal man is when you can't be beaten with death. You can't be beaten with fights and even gang stalking. You can't be beat. I can't be beaten with gang stalking. I just it's you got to go do to. They got to go do so much stuff, and now they realize I'm immortal. You know what I'm saying? Informally, I say. Informally, I'm immortal because they can't beat me by fighting me with this stuff they doing. This psychological. Do you think they gonna ever beat me like that? They ain't gonna ever beat me with no gang stalking, man. Come on, think about it. I'm talking about grown men. What you paying attention to? Like me talking about America marrying children. They ain't gonna never beat that. They ain't gonna never beat me having information about America marrying children. I'm the only one that said it like I said it from the beginning of America marrying children to now to the present time with new laws passed July 1st, 2019. Now find me one of these ratchet people in the community that's even on that level and caliber of thinking and intellect out there. At the gas stations, at the community, at these stores and all of that, all these people you use, none of them ain't on my caliber intellectually. So I'm immortal to them. I'm immortal. They can shoot me, they could punch me. They not gonna beat me like that. Ain't no grown man gonna say they beat me. None, nobody. So then when you are the big dogs, you in the big league, man, they gotta beat your numbers. Charlotte gotta go do what I've done. And that's not gonna happen in this lifetime. It's just too late. It's too late for it to happen. It's too much crazy stuff going on. You couldn't even do. Charlotte couldn't even go to New York and done what I done. Now, am I stupid? I know it's charlatans up in New York. I know it's Charlotte people that's working and making money, doing all kind of stuff in New York because you got the Chinese bus that go up there for like what $100. It used to be $60. So I know, it's charlatans all up there in New York. I know that. You got a bus going up there every day. From Charlotte, North Carolina to New York City. You telling me ain't nobody successful going up there? You telling me ain't nobody going up there and living up there? Of course. But they're not known, and at least for doing what I've done. They're not known for the caliber of intellect that I have. They're not known for that. They just work a job up there. But they're not known for the level of intellect. You see what I'm saying, right? So it's not even just about financial success, on my level. You got to have intellectual success, intellectual property that's successful, like mine, like America marrying children. That's intellectual property success that you ain't gonna find among all these people in America. So, that's what make me immortal, man. You know what I'm saying? Like you can't beat me by killing me. You can't beat me by fighting me and all of that. That ain't gonna work. So like I said, man, if you being gang stalked by your family and your love in your city, they're not most likely on the same caliber as you ever. They're not gonna ever do what you've done and be what you've done. And these gang stalkers are just playing themselves by using these people and everything. They just playing themselves. You know what I'm saying? So you just gotta understand that that's what they after. They after somebody that they can find that's strong as you. So that's how when you know that, you're aware of it, right? And you sidestep everything that will be done by people that's from your city that think they got the same strength as you. You gonna sidestep that, walk down the street, know your city, trying to prove that they strong as you and they just like you and they stronger than you. See, that's what Charlotte put me through. I just left South Charlotte off of South Boulevard in Charlotte. Man, they try to prove they were stronger than me. They got something to prove. See, when you're on my level, man, and you come from a certain city, especially if that city didn't make it, they got something to prove. And I don't. I got numbers. People know I got reputation. I don't have nothing to prove. I got spiritual reputation as a prophet of God. I don't have anything to prove to Charlotte. But they got something to prove. They wanted to prove that they were stronger than me, tougher than me. They could beat me, but that's how I know they peewees. That's how I know they small fries, the ones that tried me. Because if you was a big dog, you would know with my reputation coming from Brooklyn, coming from California, Florida, all the places I live, you ain't gonna beat me with no little dumb gang stalking and that little psychological foolishness, man. How you gonna beat me with that? They ain't gonna beat me with that. So, you gotta be a peewee in your thinking. You gotta be a small fry in your thinking to think that's gonna be me. That's why I sit back and I just let people think what they want to think. Oh well. All I know is ain't nobody done what I done. They ain't got the intellectual property I got. You know what I'm saying? They ain't doing what I've done. They ain't beat all these gang stalkers. They ain't beat all these people everywhere, all over the country. You know what I'm saying? And until then, see how the gang stalkers played themselves with me is they themselves is not gonna be able to have somebody challenge them like they challenged me. So I became a higher ranking person from their challenges when I won, and to the point where how they gonna be put in the same situation as gang stalkers by somebody else, where they can say we just as strong as this person because we've been challenged just like this person, and we beat our challenges just like he did. They ain't gonna be able to find nobody else to do that. That put them in the same situation they put me in. You see what I'm saying, right? They ain't gonna be able to do it. So that's how they played themselves. Now I'm on a whole nother level because of all they did against me that they can't compete with. They ain't gonna find nobody that naturally do the same thing to them that they done to me. So how they gonna compete with my numbers of me beating them in California, New York, Florida, and North Carolina? How they gonna find somebody to do that to them as a community? And basically that's what I'm saying, man. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying. They ain't gonna be able to find nobody to do that, man. They ain't gonna find that. So it's just a lost cause. It really is. It's a big lost cause. And I tried to tell people this a long time ago. It's all about numbers. It's all about numbers. And as long as they sitting around, that's them teenagers, them small fries, them peewees. You know what I'm saying? Nah. A grown man gonna look at it like, okay, he beat all these people. He got intellectual property. He got spiritual manifestations. Full package. Even looking good. Even looking healthy. Taking care of himself. Mind good. Everything. Okay, so how y'all gonna beat that? He's immortal, man. You can't beat that, man. See, most of y'all, I'm gonna tell you, you immortal too. If you got numbers, this is how you know you're immortal. This is how you know you're immortal. You got numbers that just fighting you with gang stalking or punching you or stabbing you and killing you, the whole community, if you die, the whole community gonna still feel like nobody did what you did. Nobody did or produced what you produced. That's what makes you immortal, because if you died, nobody has done what you done. And that kind of sums it up as a revolution, a full circle. A revolution as a full circle, to the point that even if they use your community against you, your family, ain't nobody, you're immortal. Ain't nobody producing the numbers and things that you produce. So it's a lost cause to try to find somebody that, has done what you done or could do or could beat you. They ain't beating your numbers. So how they gonna find somebody to beat you in your family, in your city, in Charlotte? Charlotte ain't gonna be able to. It don't matter what they do in their whole culture. I'm telling you that. I'm telling Charlotte that. It don't matter what you do in your whole culture, man. You're not gonna find nobody. You can play all these games that teenagers play, high school people play, but grown men out here ain't none of them gonna say you beat me. Ain't none of them gonna say you beat me when I beat all these gang stalkers. I beat all these people from California to New York to Florida to North Carolina. I even beat you out there in South Charlotte. I beat you out there. Now tell me how you gonna beat that? How you gonna beat them numbers in the minds of smart intellectual people? How they gonna beat that same level of outcomes and numbers and everything? How? Explain it. See, the truth is, that's how we know y'all influenced by these young people, these 20-year-olds and these 20-somethings and 30-somethings and these teenagers. Because you've been thinking like a child. You've been thinking like a young person, a young man or young woman. I'm a grown man. If you ain't producing no numbers, we ain't trying to hear it. Point blank, period. You know what I'm saying? So the same thing for y'all, man. If they ain't got no numbers like y'all got, it's no competition. Grown men gonna want numbers. That's just what it is. A grown man gonna want numbers, everything, and they can fight you, they can punch you, they can kill you, and they still can't beat what you done. And that's the bottom line. You know what I'm saying? So that's basically where it's at today in 2026, going into 2027. That's what we all about, numbers, everything. We got immortals over here. You know what I'm saying? I'm immortal over here. You know, if you ain't done, if they ain't done, Charlotte ain't done what I've done, it's no competition. That's child's play, literally, man. That's like Chucky, man. That's child's play. These dudes is Chucky out here. These gang stalkers is Chucky, bro. Listen, y'all ain't got no numbers. Y'all ain't gonna produce no numbers close to mine, nowhere near mine. Stop playing with me. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, they ain't got no numbers. Charlotte, they what? Like mine. You gotta beat that. You gotta beat what my reputation is, and you ain't gonna do it in your lifetime, Charlotte. So for God's true people, salute. Over and out.